There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment, and here we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin, and Rochelle is right there. Hey, Rochelle, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited for today. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you very much. And we've got a great guest for everybody today. Her name is Mary Korn. Would you like to introduce her, Rochelle?
Yes. Well, Mary does so many things, including uplifting and running, I believe, a nonprofit. So, Mary, would you like to tell us all the things that you do and why?
Yes. So I started actually a for-profit social enterprise 20 years ago called Pearl Interactive Network. And my for-profit social enterprise got government contracts to do government call center work. And what made our company really unusual is we always gave hiring priority to disabled vets, people with disabilities, military spouses, and people living in the most economically challenged parts of the country. So it was actually a for-profit, but it was a social enterprise. It married profit and social mission.
Which is really cool. And we need to go back into the mists of time a little bit, because you took a job and you were there for a couple of months and were hoping, you had responsibilities and you were hoping to make it work for you. And then tell everybody what happened.
It was humiliating. It was embarrassing, but I was fired after 2 months. It was painful.
Did you have any idea that you were in trouble?
Oh yeah, from day one. I mean, everything went downhill from my first day. It was it was a horror story. Everything every cell in my body said, this is bad, this is wrong, this is terrifying. But the good news is I was fired after 2 months, but I got a 5-month severance. So that was good.
So you got a little bit of severance, but you were gone. Did you have any idea what you were going to do at that point?
No, I was lost, terrified, single mother with 2 children, and I woke up. It felt like ground zero. It was like Dorothy's house landing in Oz, except that Dorothy's Land of Oz was filled with all kinds of characters. And when my house landed, it was like, how am I going to pay the bills? I felt like I didn't have an identity. I woke up with no hope, no way of knowing how I was going to pay the utilities, the cable bills, just completely I refer to this in my book as ground zero. Lost, confused, no direction.
Yeah.
Now, Rochelle, you've never been fired, right?
Sorry, Kevin, say that again. It's cutting out on my end.
Oh dear. You've never been fired, right?
Well, I had this little thing where I decided I would always quit if I knew they were going to fire me, if I wasn't planning on it already. But yes, I have been fired.
It's an amazing concept, because you got a job, you're working at it one day, and then all of a sudden it's gone. So Mary, you went home that day, and what were you thinking?
I was thinking, yay, hooray, I'm out of this hellish experience. That was very short-lived. It only lasted until the next morning, when I had this, oh my God, what do I do next moment?
And so did you have a clue? Did you want to stay in the field that you were in? Did you have a new field? Did you have a dream? Tell us the story, because that story really is pretty unique.
Kevin, I was terrified, lost, confused, and the ground I was walking on literally collapsed underneath me. So it was this feeling of abject terror. And I think I may have shared this with you when we spoke before, but I took a walk down down an alley right by where I lived. And I remember praying. I remember praying and saying, having a conversation with this divine spirit. Some people call it God, but I really believe that there is an energy force that's bigger than all of us. And I said, okay, here's the deal. I am on my knees begging you, whatever intelligent source is out there. I don't know what to do with my life, but I'll make a deal. The deal I'll make with you is tell me what I'm supposed to do. And if you tell me what to do, I promise I will teach a course on overcoming fear to people in my position for as long as I can. Kevin, I did just that. So words came to me, and the words that came to me was medical association. I'm literally walking down this alley and I hear the word medical association. I'm like, what? So I didn't question it. I went home and I started making cold outbound calls to executive directors of medical associations in the city I live in, which happens to be a capital. I'm in Columbus, Ohio, which is the capital of Ohio. And lo and behold, I started making outbound calls and I left a very simple script. And the script I left was, hi, I have 25 years of experience in marketing and healthcare, and I would like to schedule a time to talk to you about how to transition my skills into working with medical medical associations. And Kevin, that landed me my first client. It started the beginning of my company, and the rest is history. I went on to hire 1,300 employees in 30 states, but it all started with doing what I call our informational interviews.
That you had no idea that any of this was going to happen. Now, when this voice spoke to you, what do you think that was about? And was it clear? Is it clear what the voice said?
It was crystal clear. It was so clear. It was like almost like I'm talking to you, and I'm not delusional that I know of.
Well, I know that, and I see the thing is, Mary, is that if we open up to the universe, great things can happen for us.
I'm so glad you said that. I completely believe that. And that we're not alone, even in the darkest moments.
Well, no, we're never alone, and we get the opportunity to, if we open up to it. We don't have to. We have free will, and we can decide that we're not going to listen. But a lot of times, when we say yes to the universe, wonderful things begin to happen.
Absolutely, I'm with you.
And when those things happen to us, they can be, it can all just be magical. And in your case, it turned out to be magical because you were able to take an unemployed person who was scared to death because you had responsibilities. And to be able to morph that into a large company with 1,300 employees in 30 states, that's a big deal. When you got to that point and you reflected back, were you able to see how things just kind of worked out for you as you went through it?
I'm still amazed. I am still amazed how, in the darkest, most desperate moments of my life, all these signs all these signs and supports happen to help me live a life completely aligned with my heart. I'm a clinical social worker by background. I love business. And what I created, which then I don't even know if there was a term for it, was called a social enterprise. It completely married the heart of a social worker with the head of a business person. And I still marvel that we literally hired thousands of people with disabilities, thousands of disabled vets over 20 years. It was a work of love and passion.
If we all believed that our work and our passion was available to us, I think we'd be a lot better off, don't you think?
Kevin, people don't understand, and I know this is presumptuous, but I think we all have a mission. I mean, you and I have talked about your background. You were in construction. You were in shoe sales?
I, Mary, I've had so many jobs, people think I can't keep one. But it has always morphed into, I was in the restaurant business for a long time. I started as a graveyard dishwasher at Denny's and ended up as a national sales manager for a major poultry company and a food company over time. And it's all because I said yes to every opportunity.
Yes. And you said yes to the universe, and look what you're doing now. You have a media company and a podcast that goes to thousands of people.
And I firmly believe that we all have that within us. And we all came here with a purpose and a reason. And our
Yes.
job is to find out what that reason is and then to act on it.
Kevin, if there's one person listening to us that we inspired, we've done our job. My hope is that we touch many more.
I couldn't agree more because I really, it's a vital thing for all of us to recognize that you don't have, if you're in a job that you truly do not find that that's your passion, open yourself up to the universe, ask for a better opportunity for you, and I believe that it will come.
I think you and I are both testaments to that.
I agree. I agree. And it's not that we are, I mean, you are a very talented lady, no question about it. And I consider myself a little talented from time to time.
Absolutely.
But the reality is that we're no more special than anybody else. And but what we did that was different was we listened and we acted upon what was presented to us. And when you started to go talk to all of these people, you had it in your heart that you were going to make it work. And even though, like I was reading in your information, and Brachelle's having issues, it's connectivity issues, so she'll be back here in a second or two. But when you started to talk to the CEOs and the human resources of different companies, and 20% of them actually said, "Well, come in and have an interview." 80, which means that 80% did not.
Right.
But you did not take no for an answer.
No, never, never. I never gave up. When you're in the pressure cooker of having to support your family, giving up isn't an option. But Kevin, if it's okay with you, just to dive deeper, my mother was a Holocaust survivor who had a whole lot to do with inspiring me to be brave and courageous. And if it's okay, if it's okay with you, I'd like to just talk about her journey and how it connected to my journey.
Please do.
So when my mother was 13 years old, she was put on a cattle car meant for a death camp, a concentration death camp. And this is a 13-year-old girl who jumped off of a train meant for a death camp with SS soldiers with machine guns surrounding her. and she took that risk. And then she was in the camp from 13 to 18. And Rochelle, we're just talking about my mother and how she inspired me. And she was
Okay.
she's a Holocaust survivor. And I was just saying she jumped off a train meant for the death camps. And 5 years later, she escaped from the death march because near the end of World War II, Hitler was removing incarcerated Holocaust survivors from the camps and forcing them to walk at gunpoint. So she ran away from that. And then she came to this country many years later with two daughters under the age of 8, didn't speak English, and $120 to her name. And I tell you that story because when I looked at what was in front of me, I think we're getting some feedback.
We are. Let's see if I can fix it. Okay, talk now. See if that helps.
So when I looked, yeah, it's still going on.
There is, yeah, we're having. Are you getting feedback still?
Not now, or maybe a little. It's better.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Rochelle, can we hear you?
Yeah, can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yes, I can. So good. So okay, well go ahead and continue.
Yeah. So when I was sitting in the parking lot right after I was fired, I thought of my mother and all the death-defying feats she accomplished with sheer courage. And I thought, if she could get through what she did, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through this, and everything happens for a reason. And the truth is if I weren't so desperate and so scared, and if my husband had, the man who is now my husband, when I got my first contract, I tried to find an employee that would do outbound sponsorship sales. And my husband suggested I hire a woman who was quadriplegic, who hadn't worked in 10 years. And the woman I hired, we call her Linda, she couldn't get out of bed by herself. She couldn't feed herself, but her mind was good. And she would get on the phones and make outbound sponsorship sales. And she sold all the inventory within the first 3 to 4 months. And I thought, oh my God, this is somebody with severe disabilities. And I had a work ethic that I never saw anyone have in corporate America. I'm still hearing some feedback. Should I just continue? Maybe this could be edited out.
Yes. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Rochelle, do you have any idea what's going on?
No, I don't. And StreamYard was having issues connecting, so I'm actually on my hotspot on my phone. But I am slightly hearing feedback from Mary, but it's not bad enough to where it can't understand. And I don't know how to fix it. So
So just show goes on.
yeah, we'll just play along and we'll figure it out as we go.
Sure. Yeah, so the point being that sometimes the worst thing that could happen, if it hadn't happened, I look at the thousands of employees who had the greatest barriers to work that wouldn't have been touched if I hadn't gone through what I went through.
Well, and the really interesting thing about that, Mary, is when you start thinking about the number of people that you were able to help, even though you started out from nothing and you created all of this, and you changed 1,300 people's lives.
At least that many. because people came and went. But
Sure.
what was so cool is that, especially the first years of operation, we hired people with the most severe disabilities, people who were quadriplegic, paraplegic, blind, people who had all kinds of mental health issues. And many of the people we hired hadn't worked, and they'd been looking for jobs for 7 years. That was not uncommon. So giving people opportunity that didn't have it just so resonated with my life, my mission, my feeling like this is what I'm meant to do.
It was indeed, and by the way, we need to take a break, and we're going to talk a little bit about leadership here. I'm hoping we shall see here in just a second. But we're talking with Mary Korn and Rochelle. Her website would be.
I actually was unable to see it on my end from our calendar. So, Mary, what is your website?
Fired to inspired.com. And that's
Perfect.
the name of her book that we're going to talk about here in a second.
Perfect.
And we'll be right back. Stay with us, everybody. Here are some points to ponder from Positive Talk Radio. You know, some say leadership is about getting the work done, about pushing forward, no matter the cost. But what's the cost of a team with no purpose? What if a single act of support, a single moment of genuine grit could change everything? What if leadership was a catalyst? Because true leadership isn't about being in control. It's about empowering others to find their purpose. It's about leading with passion and igniting the fire in everyone around you, creating a culture of teamwork and common purpose. A true leader finds this culture by enthusiastic purpose and team development, making each team member feel empowered to create, improve, and execute their tasks with genuine passion and a strong belief in the company's mission and focus. In other words, lead with purpose. And welcome back, everybody. And we've got Samuel that we need to talk to here in just a second. But Mary, what I wanted to touch on, and then we have got a gentleman and a team that is in Kenya. So you're being heard right now in Kenya. And I would love to bring him in just real quick. And Rochelle, go ahead.
Samuel, hello. He says, greetings, Brother Kevin and guest Mary Korn, watching you live from Kibera Restoring Hope Center, based in the slums of Nairobi, Kenya. Thanks for the great work you're doing of hosting Mary Korn to inspire our team. Thank you for highlighting our weekly feeding program. And Samuel, I have to tell you, I saw the thing that you did with the kiddos and the donations with all the school stuff. So congratulations, and I hope that continues to grow. Also, he says, why you say hey to my sister, Rochelle. What's up? Hey.
I'm not exactly sure what that means, but Mary, he is somebody who is, he was on the streets of Kenya, and he created a group, which is the Restoring Hope Center, and they feed 370 kids and their parents every Saturday. And they've got a school that they're starting. He's really, like you did, he's really passionate about making a difference. And that is such a big deal.
Wow.
Don't you think?
Totally beautiful.
And so that's his story, and he's sticking to it. And Rochelle, go ahead. I'm sure you have a question for Mary at this point.
Yeah, Mary, I'm wondering where your most significant turning point was with all of this, because you had so much happening and so much changing and so many different kinds of people that were coming in and you were helping. Was there like a turning point in any of this that maybe went a different direction than you expected?
Yes. So for the first 7 years of owning the business, I would get small contracts that were short term. And then I went to a meeting and I heard people talking about how phenomenal government contracts are, because when you get, and in my case, I got government contracts to get very large call center government contracts. And the turning point was offering people consistent jobs with competitive wages, career pathways, and really rich benefits. And that was a huge turning point. And so 7 years into owning my business, I won the contract of my dreams, which is a contract that we went from 20 employees to 340 employees in 90 days. And when I would pull into the parking lot of the building that was our call center in Kentucky, I remember thinking to myself, and Kevin, we were talking about this before Brichelle came on, is when I pulled into the parking lot with literally hundreds of cars of employees, I thought, this was meant to be. This was divine. This was my destiny. And it was at that was one of many moments. The other, Brichelle, there were so many great moments. I'll just repeat one other one. So here I am, I'm at 10 employees, and I get this call that I couldn't have dreamed of. I get a call from the State of Ohio Rehab Services Commission, and they said, I wasn't even looking for it. They said, there's an $80,000 grant. They said, we won't give you the money, but you tell us how to spend it. And I said, okay, I want laptops, 10 laptops for employees. I want to work with a technology team that will create software that will allow blind and paraplegic people to work from home. And I want somebody to help me recruit people with severe disabilities to come and work for me. I mean, I literally came from this happen chance that how often do you not look for a grant and it's offered to you? Mm-hmm. Which again, it just really restored my faith in this beautiful divine universe, the way the universe operates.
Well, you know that everything was lined up for you. Let me give you an idea, and you tell me what you think. I believe that the universe is there at our back, and they are there to help us all the time. But in order for them to activate that and to help us, we have to say yes to them. And that's exactly what you did when you were having that conversation with yourself and with the universe, saying, I don't know, but you're going to have to help me. And then that opened up everything for you to be able to do what you've done, and follow your passion and follow your heart.
So true. So true. And for your listeners, if you have this deep intuitive feeling, listen to it. Mm-hmm. Listen to that intuitive feeling. Listen to the voice. Listen to the voice. And when these random opportunities come along, it's like you said, Kevin, say yes. Be open.
Yep. And you know, the interesting thing is you don't know. I like to tell the story about the 50,000 foot view. Can I tell this real quick?
Yes.
We do not have access to the 50,000 foot view of what's going to happen in our lives. We get to see we're in the forest, and we get to see the tree in front of us and the tree behind us. We know where we've been and we know where we'd like to go, but we don't know how to get there. So we start walking, and we trust that we're walking in the right direction. And the universe, because they get the 50,000 foot view, they see the best way for us to get to where we want to go. So what they do is they guide us along the way. And sometimes they pat us back and to go in the right direction, and as long as we're open to that. And so they're working with us to achieve what we really want to achieve and to get to where we say we want to go. It's not what they're telling us where to go. They're saying, okay, Mary, so we think that because this is what you want to do, that you should get involved with this group and this this type of business. And that's because that's what you said you wanted to do. So we're going to help you now do that because you opened up to it rather than not. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. And this time in my life, I feel absolutely called to share my story. And I am so thrilled the two of you are a portal for getting my message out. In the book I wrote, which is Fired to Inspire, there are 3 pillars. One pillar is for those of your listeners who've been fired, or those who are so desperate to get out of a job that leaves them numb and dissatisfied. My message is, the first pillar is you have to get over the paralyzing fear, because staying in bed, nobody can afford to do that. And not any of us was created to stay in bed and not move forward. So you've got to keep moving forward. The second pillar is, and this is the mistake I made taking the job I was fired from, is don't just look for a job. Do the internal excavation to find out, what is your mission? What aligns with your heart? What aligns with your soul? The two of you could not be doing this work unless it didn't align with who you are. Because the two of you are portals to giving answers to people that they can't find on their own. And the third one is, once you figure what your mission is, the third pillar is talk to anybody and everyone that is remotely doing work that excites you. Because believe it or not, you have those structured conversations. I call them informational interviews. You develop relationships, you develop opportunities, and you might be creating your own portal for the next job or the new business you're going to launch.
It's beautiful.
And Rochelle, would you like to take us to break for the halftime?
Yes. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk deeper with Mary Korn, who has been our guest here for the hour, about her Fire to Inspire book, how that came to be, and all those fun things. You're here with also Kevin and myself, so don't go anywhere. We'll be gone for no more than a minute. Right, Kevin?
A minute and 10, maybe. But I need a calculator to figure that out all by myself. So we will be right back. Stay with us, everybody.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to brushwoodmedianetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin, and Rochelle's right there, and Mary Korn is here. She's got a remarkable story, and not only do you have a remarkable story, you've got a remarkable book that's coming out. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah. Mary, I have to ask you, first and foremost, how did you get the name?
It had a series of reiterations, but one of the last editors who worked with my book said, she suggested the title, because I thought, Fired to Aspired. And then when she said, why don't you just call it Fired to Inspired, it just felt right.
And it was right.
I want that up in my house.
Well, we all have the opportunity and the ability, and that happened to Rochelle. She was doing work that she didn't really. Well, you tell the story, Rochelle.
Yeah, I mean, I was thankful enough because I was a lunch lady at a middle school, and I loved that job. So I'm thankful that was my last. But I had struggled and run through job after job, Mary, from the time I was 14 to, wow, Kevin, I met you at 24-ish, 25. And I couldn't keep a job, Mary. I would have so many jobs, which gave me lots of experience, but it wasn't that I didn't find interest in things. I had lots of interest. It was the purpose that didn't stand, right? So you work for a company and maybe they aren't the people who you thought, or something happens with your pay, or you run into these things and you think, well, if I want to keep the bills paid, I got to keep the job. But if I want to respect myself, I can't be here any longer. And even though I was young, I had that mindset because I was caring for my own family and a household. And then I said yes. I literally said yes. And I got a life coach and didn't know how it would all turn out. But then I met Kevin and I never looked back because there was purpose.
I have to think that if this is what you two do day in and day out, you're providing answers, clarity to people who are uncertain and don't know what the direction is. What a beautiful gift and calling. And it is a calling.
Yeah. And you just have to
Well-
ask. The universe is always listening, right, Kevin?
Exactly. And that's why we wanted to talk to you. And we're so glad that you're here because not everybody, but a lot of people need an example. And they need some to have somebody be able to say, well, if they can do it, why can't I do it?
Mhm.
And that's an important, don't you think? Because you've led, and the interesting thing is, Mary, I'm sure that you've had this happen to you a lot where people say, well, you're just an amazing person, but you were always that amazing person. I couldn't do what you did. But that's not true, is it?
No, absolutely not, because everybody has a gift. I just took a painting class over the weekend, and the instructor taught us the art of how you mix paint. And he was so methodical and so detailed. And I thought, isn't that funny? Everybody has something that is their gift. And I believe it's our duty to use that gift and to find a way to get past the fear, to get attuned to what that gift is. And some people need more work than others. And Rochelle, I had a career coach too, and I cannot say enough about how one way to do that internal excavation, but one of many, but the best way is to either be in a group or have one-on-one coaching with a career coach that will test you and find out what your passions, what your aspirations are. And it takes a deep internal excavation of your childhood, your adolescence, even what's going on in your world, to really take a magnifying glass to look at what makes your heart skip. The big question for your listeners is, when was the last time you were involved in something that you love so much that time just escaped? Because if you can remember what it was you were doing, that is a really big clue of what you're meant to do.
And what's interesting about that as well is that our lives, it's kind of, for me, it's really interesting because what happens is, you go to high school and then you maybe go to college and you're 18, 19 and you decide what you're going to do and what you're going to take business or you're going to do something special and stuff. And all you get out of college and now you're 22, 23. And by the way, your mind hasn't even been fully developed yet. They've proven that doesn't happen until you're 25. And yet we as a society are telling people, okay, now you got to go get a job. So you go get a job, you fall into that job, and then because you're getting paid and it may meet your financial needs, you don't live your passion. So you settle. and you settle for what that job is, and then you get older, and then you say, oh, there's got to be more than this, and then you say, well, I can't now. I got kids, I got a wife, I got a car, and I got a mortgage. I can't leave this now, and so you end up staying there, and then you retire, and then you have no idea who you are. This is exactly what happened to my dad. Had no idea who he was when he retired. And so he'd been Mr. McDonald, was an executive, and now he became just Jack. And Jack didn't know who he was because he hadn't explored any of that in his life, because he always said, I'm just a one-trick pony. I can work and I can do that, but I can't. But I'm not capable of doing other stuff. And I said, yes, you are. And even when he retired, he played golf for a little bit until he couldn't play golf, and then he sat on the couch. And I thought, what a waste of life! What a waste! And because he didn't treat our lives like the grand adventure that it is. Does that make sense?
Kevin, I was reading a Gallup poll survey just about a year ago, and it said 62% of people working are disengaged from their work. And your story is so tragic, and I hope that in today's world, people know that there are other alternatives than just to settle. But 62% of people are not charged by their work. It's routinized, it's obligation, it's fulfilling societal expectations. And how sad is that? It's not really living.
No.
It's not really living.
And Mary, you got to kind of break this with these people who thought, I might never know what I can ever do again. I don't know what's possible. And they told themselves, that fear kicked in, and well, I can't work and I can't do this and this and that, but they still knew there was something they could do, and you were that outlet for them. You came to them and said, hey, I have a way to help you. Have you had feedback from these people that you were able to hire and put purpose back into their lives?
I'm so glad you asked that, because this is a story that I will remember till the day I die.
Okay.
So I was only in business about 3 or 4 months, and I was referred to Tom. Tom was referred to me. He was he was a veteran who came back from Vietnam totally fine. He fell off a roof. He broke his back and confined to a wheelchair with no use of his legs or his hands. So his family referred him to me, and we worked with a rehab engineer that constructed a microphone and technology that enabled him to make outbound phone calls without any use of his hands. So he could do, it was all voice activated. And this is a man that was so committed to work that we had a rehab engineer construct a hospital table over his bed for when he was too weak to get out of bed. He didn't want to miss work. Okay. So the day after Christmas, my first year in business, I got an 8-page handwritten letter from his wife. And she said, you do not know what you have done for my family, because for 29 years, my husband was in a wheelchair, and we came home and told him what we did, but he never had anything to tell us. And now he's working for you, and he is joyous. And there's a part of my husband I have never, ever seen. And I'm sobbing when I'm reading this letter. And I said to my husband, I said, you know what? I will not stop until I do this thousands of times over, because I knew that this is what I was meant to do. It was so powerful. And this is doing work that the poor guy was making outbound phone calls to get people to see if people wanted to renew their personal insurance. He had people hanging up on him all the time. He didn't care. Brichelle, I may have been a beacon of light for the people I hired, especially the ones with severe disabilities, but they were my beacon of light, because even if they couldn't use their hands, even if they had terminal cancer, even if they had Tourette's syndrome, they came to work and they were so happy and lucky to work. So they taught me how to be joyous, even if they couldn't walk or move their hands or see.
Hmm. I don't think I've ever heard something better than that. I understand why it's called Inspire now.
Yeah.
Fired to inspired. It's a marvelous concept. And Mary, I got to tell you, I was in management for a long time, and there were times when I had to let somebody go. And
Yeah.
oftentimes, whenever that would happen, and three come to my mind specifically, I saw them after sometimes a couple of years after that, after I let them go, because they were not joyous in the job that they were doing. They weren't doing their best work. They weren't loving it. And it was obvious to me that that was the case. And to a person, they came up to me and said, "Thank you. Thank you for firing me, because now I'm in a job that I love, and I was going to stay there because I was getting a dang paycheck, and my wife wanted me to stay there. But now, because you pushed me out the door, which motivated me to get the job that I really love to do." And so it made me feel good that it made me feel good that I fired them, I guess, because that led them to where they needed to go. And the folks who let you go after 2 months, do they know your story now?
No, my editor made me change their names, change the name of the organization. There's a part of me that I was just thinking today of sending them an anonymous, well, it wouldn't be anonymous, but my name would be on it. But I changed the names, and I would love to send them copies, especially the gentleman that fired me. Yes, I would love to do that. And thank you for reminding me. It's something I'm going to have to do when the book comes out.
Indeed, because then what you do is you go to them and you say, "You made a mistake, but thank you for making that mistake, because I've saved thousands of people from themselves and from being less than, and have helped them. And the style with which you ran your businesses was people first. And that's how you became successful, in my opinion."
I think so, because Kevin, I felt so marginalized in the job that I was fired from, not heard, not respected, that I swore the company I would build, I would do the opposite. And I would listen to people, I would hear them, I would let them know how much they were my gift. And it was very often that even when we had 1,300 employees, I would call people on their anniversary dates. I would call them on their birthdays and just say, "How's it going? How do you like work? What's working? What isn't?" And I really wanted to know. And that experience of having been fired after 2 months, it made me so sensitive to the plight of people who didn't feel heard and marginalized.
It's a big deal. Go ahead, Rochelle.
Well, I know we need to take our quick last break here, right quick. And then, Mary, when we come back, I want to know how the book came into play. If somebody came to you and was like, "You have no option, write this," or if you woke up in the middle of the night and it felt right. So let's talk about this when we come back from this last break.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to ask that question too. Brilliant, Rochelle. Simply brilliant. We'll be right back. Love. War and freedom collide in The Girl of Many Crowns. Judith of Francia's story will take you from the heart of royal courts to the chaos of Viking invasions. It's a tale of resilience and courage that proves history is not just written by kings, but by women who dared to choose their own path. The Girl of Many Crowns is available now on Amazon Books, Kindle, Amazon Audiobooks, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and Book Baby Bookshop. Don't just read history, experience it. Order your copy today. And welcome back, everybody. And by the way, Mary, when your book comes out, we'd love to do that for you as well. That's a book promo that we do.
I'm very interested. I just wrote it down.
Oh, perfect. And Michelle, ask the question again because it's a big, big question.
Yes. Well, not many people just write a book. They may have worked on it for years. Somebody may come to them and say, you have to write this book. And sometimes they wake up and they're like, this needs to be heard in a different way. So, how did it happen for you?
Rochelle, when I got hired, there were no books for me. There was maybe one book that was very boring, and it was accumulation of long, boring stories, but it wasn't prescriptive. It didn't reach me when my state of absolute paralysis. It didn't help me do an internal excavation, and it didn't guide me on techniques to create the new job or create a new business. And it just started to evolve. And anytime you do something new, like you play golf, you paint, you try to learn a new language, there's all of this insecurity.
Yeah.
And I've learned that from the start of writing the book to the start of the business, for those listening, you have to put blinders onto your fear. You have to put blinders, earplugs in to not listen to your doubts, and just do it. And the other thing is, and this might not be practical, is sometimes don't overthink it. Just do it. Just jump in and do it, because, so help me God, when I started the company, I had no clue what I was doing. No clue. And when I just started to go after government contracts, I didn't know what I was doing. And I wrote the book and I didn't know what I was doing. But there's one great thing about people is most of them are very, very good. And if you ask them, they would be joyous in telling you about their experience. So just asked a lot of people, how'd you get here? I mean, both of you realize you're doing things that people dream of. You're in media. You're communicating positive messages. I can't help but think your listeners are going to one day call you, or if they haven't already all the time, is how did you do it? How did you go from being a lunch server? And Kevin, how did you go from all these jobs, from being a dishwasher at a Denny's? People want to tell you their journey, so ask them.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing. And you know how it all came about with one guy who I haven't talked to in 20 years. And we worked together for a little bit, and we went on a spiritual journey and learned about meditation and different aspects of our spiritual lives. And he came to me one day and he said, and because I'd said, why am I here and what am I going to do? I want to do something different than what I'm doing. And I didn't know. And so he came to me and he said, we ought to do a television show to talk about all the things we're learning. Now, I was a district sales manager for a food company, and I had 11 reports, and I had a house, had the wife, had the dog, had the cat, had the kids, had the picket fence and all that stuff. But I wanted to do something different, wanted to do something more. And so he came to me and said that we went and found out that we could do radio. And so we started a radio show. He didn't like it. He left. I was hooked. And now 3,000 shows later, my life has completely changed. And for so many reasons. And it's because I said yes. I didn't say no. Just like you did. And the beautiful thing was in your world, Mary, is that there was a period of time that you didn't know what you were doing and you didn't know whether it was going to succeed or not, but you had faith and trust in yourself.
I did. The three of us did. Yeah.
And that's available to everybody. There isn't a secret sauce other than you never quit and you always say yes to the universe.
And remember, everyone has a mission, and it behooves us to find out what it is, because when you live your life at your mission, you impact the whole world. It's not just you.
That's true. It's very true.
And Rochelle has been with me for a couple of years, and her parents came and visited us with Rochelle, and her mom and dad said. Rochelle was out. We were on the Lake Union in Seattle, and so she and her cousin went to look at the big boats that were in the marina. And her mom said to me, "You know, she's been with you longer than she's been in any job in her entire life. How did you do this?" And I said, "I didn't. She did." Because she understands that this is her mission, this is her passion, this is what she wants to do, and she just didn't find it until that point. But now she knows, don't you?
Yeah. And I also get to be thankful for everything that happened that brought me to this point. I used to always be
Yeah.
so frustrated and so angry and so confused, right? But there's no need to be that way because of where it led me. And even, yeah, some of my family, they don't understand. And Kevin has been my best friend, and he's been my coach, and he's been the best boss, really, that I could think of. And our whole team, Mary, how you say the same thing. Our team is our family. Our guests, you yourself, you are now a part of our family. And when we do these shows, we want to speak to people individually so that they know we actually care about people for who they are individually rather than, the whole, because that's how we create the whole. So I definitely have become a different person, and being able to look back and just be thankful is really what changed what I think is allowing for the future.
Beautiful.
And Mary, I want to go back to back in time again to you came home. You probably cried in your car after they let you go. And you came home eventually, and you sat on the couch and you said, "What am I going to do now?" Now, fast forward, you now have had a company that employed 1,300 people at one time. You've written a book. You're on radio shows and you're on podcasts and you're shouting your story from the mountaintops. When you were sitting on that couch, the day that you were terminated and you were scared out of your mind, did you think any of this was possible?
Never. No. 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 No, 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 no. But for those people listening, this is going to sound really trite, but you know who Christina Aguilera is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I heard her give a quote that I never, ever forgot. And the quote was, because what people don't know about her is she grew up in the same town as I did. And the town we both grew up in was Pittsburgh. She's from Pittsburgh. And she was tormented and tortured because girls in high school were just brutally mean to her. And they were mean to her because she was really talented and they knew she was performing, and somebody once asked her the question, "How did you get through this torment?" And she said, "I always had the vision of being incredibly, incredibly famous." And early on, when I started this company, and I knew what I did with Tom, the gentleman who was a quadriplegic who hadn't worked in 29 years, I had a vision that I would one day have over 1,000 employees. And when I reached that 1,000 person mark, I realized that having that vision, and for all of you listening, have that vision, create that audacious goal, that audacious vision, because if you're working towards that vision, there's a good chance you can make it happen.
There's 99.99% chance.
Yeah.
And by the way, Rochelle does such a good job at the end of the show that Rochelle, go ahead, and because Mary, we've run out of time, but your story is so powerful and so important that when the book comes out, you have got to come back and you've got to do another show with us. Will you do it?
I would love that.
Okay, good.
I would love that. It was a joy to spend time with you. Fabulous.
Well, thank you. It was our honor. We've had Mary Korn with us, everybody, here today. If you have any questions about this show, go to her website, which is firetoinspire.com. You can find and wait for that book to come out. She'll also be back on the show. But Mary, I'd love for you to share any ways that people can contact you other than your website, if that's not best. And then any message from your heart you'd like to leave us with.
The message is, if you go to the site, Fire to Inspired, I have a free workbook that is called Embracing Courage. And it's about the first pillar of the book, which is, it's an interactive workbook for how to start overcoming fear. And there's a comments page and there's a way to communicate with me, and I'd be honored. And there's a pre-book sign up on the website.
Awesome. Awesome.
Your book is going to be a big deal, by the way.
Yes, it is.
You think?
It really is. Oh, I don't think you know what's coming, but we do.
So
Can feel it.
what I love is when you were going through your journey of this job, the book was written for someone like you. If you had seen that book, Fired to Inspired, I think it would have resonated with you. And that your journey is the type of person I want to reach. And here's some
You're gonna
answers.
change people's lives, Mary, one by one. Domino effects.
Oh, that just gave me chills. Thank you, Rochelle.
You're going
I'm excited
to
we're on this journey with you.
exactly. The ripple effect is undeniable, and it's going to be a big ripple effect, and you're going to change people's lives. That's why we wanted you on this show. That's why you're here, because that's the platform we're working to build.
Beautiful. Thank you.
No, thank you. And sadly, we've got to go, but I hope everybody has a great day. And remember, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, change it. You have the ability. Find something that you are passionate about, and you'll never work another day in your whole life. I promise. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.